You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello there.
Bombad Generals! You are some bold ones.
That was like a mix of like General Grievous, but also Phantom Menace. Oh, the slave owner.
Oh, Watto?
Yeah, that was like a mix between the two of those.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take it. There was, as long as you're telling me there was some General Grievous in there, I'll
just a little bit, but
yeah, it kind of hurt my voice though, so now I gotta drink some water.
We'll stick with the Jar Jar voices.
Oh, after we hang up, I'm going to go on YouTube and just listen to General Grievous so I can try to perfect my Grievous voice now.
It's like there was a point of time where this isn't Star Wars related, but like Smeagol, and I just like YouTube how to do his voice really well, and then like I almost mastered it, in my opinion. But I also could be really bad at it. So
that's the thing. It's hard to do voices because you don't, it sounds perfect to you. Yeah. But then your voice doesn't sound the same to other people just generally. So
yeah, it's frequencies and all that jazz in your ears. Oh, sorry about that. That's an Amber Alert.
Uh-oh.
We're good.
Dang. Well,
it's not my kid.
I hope everything turns out okay.
Yes, for that individual.
Did you say it's not your kid, so it's okay?
It's not my No, it's not. I'm not. I don't have to like get off the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But also, that would be bad if that's how you found out about your kid.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah. That'd be very unfortunate. Man.
Yes.
What a start. What a start to an episode. Oh, dear.
Well, anyways. Let's dive in.
Legion
Speaking of Amber Alerts, we're going to talk about hostile environment.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I don't know if that gets us canceled or what, but okay. Yeah, hostile environment. It's a condition.
It's a condition.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, so I guess we took a small break last week, but we're back onto our objective series now. Not objective, our battle deck series, and we're trying to wrap that up before Worlds is the plan. So that you can be A+ level Legion players, everyone who listens, right before Worlds, and come kick our butts in Chicago.
Please do that. Which it is confirmed both Matt and I will be at Worlds.
Yes, I haven't bought my plane ticket yet, but I should do that like tonight as well. After Grievous Voices.
It's okay, I have the hotel booked, so we're solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Hostile. Tell us about Hostile, Seth.
So Hostile Environment is a condition. It's a green card in your battle deck. It is a trooper unit whose unit leader is not in base contact with a piece of terrain, cannot remove suppression tokens during the end phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty simple.
And that's it.
Like,
I'd say it shows up in a decent number of my decks just because it's fairly neutral. But
yeah, I tend to not run this. I don't like it, actually.
Yeah, because you have P1s, right? Phase 1 clones. They don't love that because you want it on people who can move a bit.
Yes. And especially like with fire support platforms, like if they're not touching a piece of terrain, it's like, and they fire support, they're like 2 turns right there where they can't remove suppression. So
yeah, 100%. And then you kind of have to keep fire supporting because they're not going to do anything else. So you're like, well, might as well just keep fire supporting.
Yeah, and I don't want to waste a guidance
list, so yeah,
on a recover action for phase 1. Like,
yeah. So who likes this? Droids like this.
Droids like this.
They really don't care about suppression until they're probably dead anyways.
That's true. I could see like a
R2.
I could see like a 501st with the Indomitable card.
That is like true. Yep. Yeah.
Because they can rally off the suppression pretty easily. They have a bunch of phase 2 and arcs, so it's all like Courage 2.
They're all mobile. They're all Courage 2. Pikes similarly, because then they can they can just keep it. I mean, they can already keep their suppression if they want.
There's one specific unit, not a faction, but a unit that really likes this, and that's R2D2.
R2, yes.
He loves this card, and if we go, I'll explain why. It's because R2, because once he has a suppression, you can't attack him. unless he's the only unit that you can attack, like legally. And this just allows that he keeps that suppression during the end phase.
Every single turn. So if he has 3PO with him, they just calculate odds on themselves and they're done. Then they just walk across the board and you have to get real close to shoot them or melee them. Or if you have some way to run him over and displace him turn 1, then you just like run him over, move him back a little bit, and then just start marching down the board. So he very much enjoys this one.
He does. Other than that,
yeah,
Wookiees may like it because of their indomitable and their courage too. So like the Wookiee out of force.
I'd still be a little worried though, just because they really need 2 actions.
They really do.
I mean, Ewoks probably take it because they don't get to remove suppression anyways. So might as well give everyone the same curse.
Might as well.
But it's one. I'd say it's something that can be an annoyance from the condition slot, but it's if you're not like wasting a ban on it unless you're like, I'm fine with the objective and deployment, so might as well get rid of hostile. Like it's not a game changer. If you completely forget about it, it can be kind of annoying when it's like, oh shoot, I don't remove the suppression on this guy. But I'd say forgetting about War Weary is much worse, because then it's like, oh dang, this is very bad. I'd say generally if you're taking War Weary, you're taking hostile and vice versa. There are some exceptions, but
probably I would say there's 2 characters that really don't like this specifically. General Grievous, because of his low courage, and you really want to hit both his actions. And then Anakin Skywalker, because of his flaw card. So,
yeah, you don't want easier to flaw him.
No. And I know me playing Anakin, I've had this happen, especially if I've like had endurance on him. This is like, I don't like this card.
Yeah, because you're so used to like, oh, I just take 2 off or whatever, and then suddenly it's like, like he can kind of get around it. But I think generally units that want to be in very specific places don't like it, because then they kind of maybe have to morph around. And then characters who really want all their actions. So someone you left off the list I think is Han, but he's not good. Other than his command cards these days are still very nice. But yeah, I'd say if you looked at like the most ranked conditions, Hostile's probably up there.
I would agree.
After like Clear, and
I could see Clear, Supply Deck, and Hostile being like very popular.
I bet people take Fortified more than they take
probably
like up there with Supply. We'll get into we were going through which ones we have left, because we've done this in a super organized fashion and definitely knew off the top of our heads. But yeah, Supply Drop and Fortified are 2 interesting conditions that I think are taken too often. More than they should be. So maybe Hostile should be a bit higher up. But it's like, it's always kind of on that fringe of like, I'll toss it in if I need a 4th. For me.
Yeah, I agree. I think most people just think of like the benefits for them and not necessarily how it affects your opponent as well, like the hindrance.
Yes.
But
yes.
This is kind of a neutral that like everyone has to deal with it. So
yeah, so if it doesn't matter for you, great. You're not necessarily taking it to screw over your opponent, because it won't do that much to them. You're taking it if you're like, I really don't care about this effect, or I can work around it very easily, or maybe I get a small benefit from it because of R2. Otherwise, whatever. Yeah. Okay, now for the interesting stuff. Slightly more interesting, because we're saving the best for last. But advanced positions. I can do the screen share on this one, but it's a pretty easy one to remember. You get your entire right side of the board, range 1, and then also your right side closer to you, range 1, up to halfway through the board. So 3 feet on each side, making a little L for both players. And you get Scout 1. Even FDs get Scout 1 on advanced positions.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's good. When are you taking advanced?
So actually nowadays I'm taking advanced a lot.
Yep. Yoda Chewie. It's
I have
good.
Chewbacca, so I like that. Normally, if you have an aggro list, you're taking it advanced because having that speed one, like I think of Magna Guards, like they love this.
Wookiees
Wookiees love
they usually
this.
have recon, so now they're moving speed 2 up the board to start off.
See, like Black Suns loving this. But interesting enough, I could see stuff like as a red player, like having this, like if you have the less bid, bringing this and having also sabotage and moisture evaporators. Because then you just play on the defense and you just deploy your sabs or your vaps like very far away. So your opponent has to spend a lot of turns just to get to your vaps.
And then they can kind of, because if you can see the sharing, if you've got your vaps kind of along your own back line, you can see my cursor, right?
No.
Okay, so if you've got your vaps along the back line, then if your opponent's kind of going from the tip of their L towards that, you can kind of envelop them if need be. It's easier to kind of get them surrounded and really just flank them, hit them where they're vulnerable, that kind of thing. So, that's a specific circumstance. There's a lot of objectives where, KP, intercept, you want to take the middle, and depending on the list, advanced can also be great for that because you can just really get your units up the middle of the board real quick.
Yeah, that's helpful. Also, interesting enough, R2 again, I think he really likes this because he just has that back. Can easily try to score that secret mission, or just like force that or like threaten that, and then that forces your opponent to kind of split up their army.
Yeah, I actually also just really like it quite a bit with maybe if I have a focus piece who's maybe a little bit more fragile, who doesn't have recon for whatever reason. So, if you've got Boba Fett who doesn't have recon, or, maybe a Force user, Yoda, something like that, Palpatine, all those sorts of guys, because that little extra speed 1 can be often the difference of I'm going to be out in the open and maybe I take, orbital bombardment or something turn 1 versus, okay, I can get out of line of sight and just kind of hang out behind a big piece of terrain, because usually the terrain pieces are about a speed 1, speed 2 move away.
Yeah. Now you have to be careful with like advanced positions, because we're going to talk about this in like for bombing run, you can't have like place an objective token on like units that are not in your deployment or that scouted. So if you play something like bombing run or something, just make sure to like have your units not scout and in your deployment zone.
Similar with rollout on bombing run, which we could kind of segue into, but I have one more thing to say, I guess, about advance, which kind of ties in with what you're saying. It does change up some of the early math, because for something like supply drop or recover or VAPs, all those tokens start range 1 away from the deployment zone. So if you don't have any scout, then hey, you can't move up and tap with a speed 2 move. It's just a little too far. But with scout 1, now you can. Way back in the day, it used to be a lot more common to just toss recon on some units just to help out in the objective game like that, and it's kind of fallen out of favor, but it is nice with advanced positions to do that. Though remember, both players are doing it. So if you've got, if you're the aggressor on VAPs, those VAPs are going to be tapped a lot faster. Your window is going to be a bit smaller, but you start closer. So with many things, Scout 1, no one's going to say no to extra movement, but just remember your opponent also gets extra movement, and you might not want that in a given matchup.
Yeah, but I remember there was a matchup where I was more thinking about the benefits for me and like, I really want advanced positions, but my opponent had Magnus, and I like did some turn 0s, turn 1 stuff, and then Magnus just came and I was like, I didn't even think about this, and I just screwed myself over. So I think in all of these conversations, like always think about how that affects your opponent as well, and not just think about how that benefits you.
That is I think the number one thing for the series is considering both sides of the equation in everything when it comes to the battle deck.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. We've done advanced positions. We've done the silly stuff. Now we can get to the good stuff, bombing run.
Can I say something, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
This is my favorite objective. Not a lot of people, I don't think, can say that same thing.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's many great things to this objective. I think it's just a little too... The design choices, I think, make it a little too skewed so that it doesn't necessarily realize its full potential. But we can talk about that more at the end, I would say.
Yeah.
But I think the genesis of it was they wanted to have an objective that vehicles were good at. Because,
specifically speeders and fast.
Yeah, when it came out, it was like breakthrough and then kind of KP, but there was just a lot of... It was a lot more trooper heavy. The reason that for the first year plus, Legion was just like take 11 activations of all troopers was the meta, is because they were just much, much better in the objective game.
Yeah.
With the vanilla objectives that we had before the second pack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you like it? What does it do? Why do you like it, Seth?
So let's just share kind of what it does first. I'll share my screen here. Okay, so can you see my cursor?
Yes, I can.
Okay, groovy. So the bombing run, set up after deploying after the deploy unit step. Starting with the blue player, each player places 3 claimed objective tokens in base contact with friendly unit leaders that are within the player's deployment zone. Each friendly unit cannot have more than 1 claimed objective token. Now, a few things to note. It says units, not trooper units, so it can be vehicles or trooper units, and they have to be within the deployment zone, like we talked about.
And incognito troopers can now also...
Correct.
It used to be in the fine print that you couldn't give them a bomb with incognito, but now you can. So you can slap that bomb on K2 as long as you don't have him,
K2, incognito, ATST, like...
Yeah.
Yes.
Maul's probe droids.
Mm-hmm.
It works. It works now.
Yes. And then after that, it says each trooper unit gains claim, and then all units gain free action drop. So it says trooper units, so vehicles can start with it, but they cannot pick it up. Mm-hmm. So they can't claim it. Only trooper units can claim it if it was dropped. And then it says at the end of the activation phase, each player may detonate 1 unclaimed objective token that was flipped to its unclaimed side with a drop ability by a unit they control. In the victory, after an objective token detonates inside or within range 1 of the player's deployment zone, their opponent gains 1 victory token.
Yeah. So a couple more interesting things to add on is that you can only ever blow up 1 per turn.
Yep.
But you don't have to blow up something you dropped that turn. I can drop something on turn 1 and blow it up turn 6 if I really want to. That means that bombing run is one of those objectives where you can get to a game state where it's basically impossible to win or impossible to lose, depending which side of the coin you're on, where you might just not have enough turns left to blow up all the objectives you need. Which can suck, but also can feel good if you're the person who is the opponent in that circumstance. And they have to be flipped to their unclaimed side with a drop ability. So if your unit gets shot and blown up and it flips to unclaimed because they're dead, you can't blow it up until you go claim it and then drop it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can always drop it outside of the deployment zone or outside of range 1 and it blows up, but you just won't score it. I don't recommend doing that, but you can.
There's some circumstances, I would say, where it's what you want to do. Maybe we can get into that, but let's just kind of do some basics. Again, we always start with when you want to take this. So why do you see speeder lists usually take, you're always trying to get the 3 speeders? Bombing run is a big reason. Part of why speeders can be really good is because they can skew the objective deck. Troopers don't like bombing run all that much. Speeders love it. Speeders are very good at it if you've got 3 of them. So if you don't have 3 good bomb carriers, definitely don't put bombing run in your list.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Shoot.
How do you feel? Sometimes some people will say, oh, whatever. I'm running this Yoda list, but I've only got 2 barks because of how the points fall and whatever. I'll put 2 bombs on my barks if I have to play bombing run, and I'll put the 3rd on Yoda. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like it. I don't think it's wise. Mainly, I don't think for barks themselves, I think they just work better with 3 units and not just 2. I think that goes for any speeders, honestly. I think the only exception is like double ATST with double speeder, maybe. But
why not take 4 speeders and just run Blizzard Force?
Yeah,
right?
run Blizzard Force. Yeah, for sure. But like I don't. Here's why I don't think it's wise. If you have like a line, like Yoda can dub as a aggressive unit or a linebacker unit, and I think he works much better in it as the aggressor on your opponent's bombs.
Exactly.
So stopping 100%. Your opponent. Because like let's say if you have 3 barks and you score all 3, like the first 3 rounds, which is very common for speeder list, then you just have Yoda focus on just 1 bomb, just go after 1 opponent's bomb and just go all in on that. And then as long as you stop 1 of their bombs, you win the game.
You win the game. You just win the game if you stop the bomb.
Because you scored and then you stopped 1 bomb, and then max it can be like 3-2. And then you can also like take that bomb back and then like detonate, like we talked about it before, detonate it. Just like, oh, I'm going to drop it, detonate it, and you can't even score it. Like I'm taking that ability from you. And then the game state, they win. Like you just win.
So yeah, he's much better in my opinion as well. I'd much rather have him on the defensive because Yoda particularly, just like because he's got guidance, which can really pull some claim bomb, someone drops a bomb thinking that you can't get there, then you guidance someone, they move, pick it back up, and then it's like, shoot. But also if let's say one of your own barks blows up, or Fluttercraft, who knows, maybe you're playing Yoda Fluttercrafts. If one of them blows up, I want Yoda to be able to go after that and pick that bomb back up. And he can't do that if he already has a bomb. And if he has a bomb, then he's kind of forced into a play style that I don't really want to force him into. And there's just so many things. And, this is more than Yoda too, right? Like there's sometimes people will think to put them on Jedi or whatever, but there's just so many more things that can mess up trooper units. They can get engaged in melee. They can get force pushed. They can get zapped by Dooku's lightning. Like just all sorts of things can just really mess them up. Because drop is a free action. So let's say it's turn 5 and you're about to go into turn 6 and you just need to move, drop the bomb next turn. If they can engage you in melee, you can withdraw. You can't do free actions when you withdraw. So you can't drop the bomb. Because it's a free action as well, you can't end your turn with a compulsory move on a speeder and then drop the bomb, because the compulsory is the last thing. You can't do a free action after your compulsory move. Yeah. So you have to, if you're going to triple move or whatever, start with your compulsory. And if you're going to try to do other things, start with your compulsory if you want to end with a bomb drop. Is the other thing. But yeah, I'm very much in I don't want troopers. If I'm putting this in my deck, I do not want troopers bringing the bombs. Same goes for Mandalorians. If I've got triple Mando list, I'm still not taking bombing run, because if they've got a Jedi, I'm just the skills that Jedi has to just come and take the bomb from me. It worries me. It worries me way too much.
I would this is definitely a higher win percentage for a speeder list and not for a trooper list. Now, if you get stuck in this, I highly recommend that you don't get stuck in this. Most of the time, if because of the 4-card flip and I'm blue player, ideal scenario is bombing run and breakthrough. If I'm running a speeder list at the last 2. And
usually mid 2 is even better. Because it takes less bands for you to do that.
Exactly. But most of the time, my opponent's gonna choose breakthrough over bombing run, because if they're running a gunline list, it's close to. You have to play very smart as a gun line, and you're definitely like you're at a very big disadvantage.
So I have a story about that, but first I want to talk about one more facet of bombing run before we talk about the story, because it ties in more. How often do you use the bombs to actually like as a weapon? Because it is a weapon. It's a 3 red blast suppressive range 1. So things like the Fluttercraft or the T-47 actually ignore it completely because they ignore range 1 weapons. But how often do you drop this in the middle of your opponent's army and go boom? Even if it's scoring. Let's say it's also scoring.
8 out of 10 times.
Yeah, good.
I'm
good
very... Okay, so one of the things about speeder lists that specifically for... Like, let's say I run a Yoda speeder list or something. There's... The firepower that this can put out is a lot.
It's insane. It's insane.
And especially if I'm going after like a trooper unit, like, and the trooper unit has a bomb, I'm going to put this right next to them. And then like, boom, they have 2 suppression. They're already starting off with 1 less action the next turn if they're courage 1. Yeah. And having
this is
blast, it's just, there's been a lot of games where like, this is like me dropping my bombs have actually like done more damage than my actual core units.
Oh, 100%. Yes, this actually reminded me of a second game now that I think about it. A YBTL game way back when I was playing against some sort of Wookiee spam, I think. And I had my own like trooper list, but they brought bombing run because I think partly because of like how the pairing system worked. They knew they could pair it into not a speeder list, and then they felt like they had the advantage on. They might have had like 1 or 2 speeders. It might have been the double T-47 triple Wookiee list. But anyways, because of the list I had didn't have a lot of firepower, I actually tried to get bombing run because without the bombs, I wouldn't have been able to kill all the Wookiees. And with the bombs, I was able to kill at least enough. I can't remember what happened, if it was tabling or not, but I was able to kill enough Wookiees to not be overrun by them versus any other objective. Like, I'm a bit better at the objective, but they can kill me a lot faster, like, because I can't kill them. But yes, I think the big mistake I've seen, and this ties into my other story, because in my most recent tournament back in the Netherlands, end of day 1, I actually was playing against a Wookiee defenders list, triple flutter, Wookiee spam, and I had 8 Actiota. So, and the exact scenario you said comes up. It's bombing run and breakthrough, and they're great at bombing run, but they're also insane at breakthrough because you try to kill them, they run away. They get the extra speed 1 move, and it would have been. I think it even would have been advanced positions. Now that you mention it, so they
like advanced.
So if I'm playing breakthrough, they out activate me by 2. They have the bid, but they out activate me by 2. They scout out. If I try to kill them and chase them, they just keep moving away. It's almost an unwinnable situation in breakthrough. So I ended up having to play bombing run into a triple flutter list with a clone ball. And pretty much the only reason I was able to win that game is he took all his flutters and the first turn just dropped all the bombs on the other side of the board. And then came after my clone ball. Now, he wanted to keep his flutters safe, but I tell you this, even with clone defensive tech, if you just explode 3 red dice on hitting 6 units, they're going to go down quickly. Very, very quickly, especially because it's suppressive. It would have messed up my own bomb carriers quite a bit, even if the flutter gets popped. Just drop it on people. Do it.
Yes, just there's a reason why it's called bombing.
Yes, and for me, it happened offensively as well, because he was coming after my whatever arc unit who was trying to get to the end with a Wookiee, and I was blowing the bombs up on my own guys and his Wookiees, hoping to out attrition, and survived on 1 wound. Was the difference in the game, right? So if that wound had been blown up by his bomb, or my own bomb, then like that's a very different game. So 100% use your bombs. Now, as someone who has more experience with this, yeah. Oh yeah, put them way far away, please.
Yeah.
As someone who has experience with this, because if you really dive and try to put your bomb in the middle of their army, then your bark is also kind of in the middle of their army, and it might get blown up because you can't really like leave it there for next turn, because then they'll just come pick it up. 1 second.
All good. While he's doing that, I'm gonna just talk about a time. One thing I would recommend not going against is Dark Troopers. I would stay very far away of putting your bomb in the middle of them, because with Dark Troopers double activation, they can easily get to the bomb if you're putting it like right next to them or something. Because of that, like they can move, claim, or like it's a speed 3 pretty much. So normally if I'm playing against Dark Troopers and I'm running the speeder list, I'm not going to put this bomb right next to you. I'm actually just going to worry about scoring. So that's one of the things I don't recommend, putting the bomb right in the middle of the army.
Why do you tell that story, Seth? Why do you tell that story?
Well, I remember I played a game where I tried to do this against you, I think. Yeah. And it was just, it was not ideal. Now you have to be careful because of like you wanted to do it a last, like you want like one of the unit that you activate that drops the bomb, you want it to like be one of the last units to activate.
Because you got aggressive for getting it was very early, to be fair to you, and it was a learning game for both of us as we were trying to figure out.
First or second time.
It might have been the first. It was like the third time I was playing Darks, maybe the first time you were playing against them. About a year ago.
Probably, yeah.
Just a little over. And that's the day we found out, Darks can even beat Yoda triple bark at bombing run. That's pretty decent. That's good.
Pretty decent.
Because remember I was saying it was kind of designed to be not as harmful to vehicles, because they gave it range 1, they gave it blast, but they didn't give it impact.
Yep.
So against a Dark Trooper list, you're maybe getting 1 save on the Dark Troopers with 3 dice, crit 1. It's not doing a whole lot. Now you're still scoring, hopefully, but you're not doing much more. But
the question is like a 50% wound, but 50%.
Not even 50% wound, because on 4 dice you would roll 1 crit.
That's fair.
On average.
That's fair.
And then they save it half the time. So like if you blow up a bomb and hit both Dark Troopers, you're probably averaging like 0.85 wounds or 0.85. Wounds. So
okay, but continue with your story.
Yes, my question. This was my question for you though.
Okay.
Because you do that, you have your bark in the middle of their army, kaboom, it goes boom. Usually with bikes, you want to engage with them all at the same time. But if you're really going aggressive with one of the bikes and the other bikes are kind of engaging, how do you manage that so that they don't just get blowed up before? Because the third bike is going to have to wait until turn 3 to drop their bomb. So how do you manage that of like, hey, if I'm trying to blow this bomb up turn 1, let's say turn 2 in the middle of your army, I'm trying to blow up my first bomb. How do I also hit you with my other 2 barks on turn 2 without getting them shot to pieces before they can drop their bombs? Or is that possible? Do you just play bikes differently in that setup?
So I think in that scenario, what I love about barks specifically, is their low point. Like they have they're 55 points. So I'm sacrificing 55 points to score that unit.
And you're just feeding them one by one, basically?
One by one.
Yep.
So I'm lining the other 2 up to then maneuver into that as fast as possible. Now, if I see an opening to where he activated 2 trooper units and it's I can hit those 2 trooper units without them moving and claiming, I'm going to take that. I'm okay, that could be middle of the turn. I'm guarantee you, there's no way you can get actions. Get this bomb. You can. So then I'll take that. So I'm also calculating my opponent's action and like measuring. Also,
because
just be aware of like guidance and stuff. And
the bomb is range 1. It's got to be range 1 to hit you. And just a little bit closer than range 1 is range for a speed 2 move and a claim. So roughly speaking, again, if you can, it is possible to line it up a little bit better than this, but roughly speaking, if you can hit them with the bomb, they can move a claim, which is why you have to do it late and why you've got to really be careful of things like guidance, things like pull the strings or speed 3 units, because they can come from further than you're used to. They can come from a speed 3 move claim, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, shoot, dang, Boba has my bomb now.
Yeah.
And then what was I going to say about that? I had something I'm sure it was very, very smart to say.
What you're thinking about, also be aware of Darth Vader's 1-pip, because they can move friendly units
onto it.
Like
Yes,
onto the bomb. So just be aware of that. Also, if you're playing Vader, like if you're like a Vader gun line, and like you're like, utilize that 1-pip not for offensive stuff. Use it to like, okay, you put a bomb, I'm going to move this unit, and then they're going to like move and claim. Like, that's a really good tool to use.
I was very sad back when I was running Vader double darks, and then was excited to use the 1-pip, and then realized, oh right, you can't do heavies, so I can't Vader's my dark troopers around.
Rough.
Very sad.
Very sad.
The other thing to utilize would be standbys. Because they might be able to knock it off, but depending how the turn is going, maybe you can get a couple standbys up. Maybe you can get late enough that they can't knock it off. Just the idea would be threaten enough standbys that say, hey, if you want to come put this bomb in the middle of my army, I'm going to trigger 3 standbys and maybe blow up your bark before it can drop the bomb. That's the hope.
Yeah.
It's tough to pull off, but sometimes that's kind of your only option.
Yeah.
And if it makes them say, hey, okay, I'll go drop this bomb somewhere else, that's kind of a win.
That's fair.
In many circumstances.
Yeah.
The other thing, dang, I keep having these thoughts and then thinking one thought ahead and then talking about the previous thought and then forgetting the next thought. Yes. Okay. This is circumstances where you blow it up not in their deployment zone. So I talked about one already, which is if you just really need damage for whatever reason, and you just damage is more important than the victory point, which is rare, but possible. The other would be if it's their bomb. So let's say I've got Yoda. Let's say, we'll keep using Yoda and Barks because it's a very good example that one of us is very familiar with, and the other has played against enough. Luckily not on Bombing Run to also be familiar with it. I've played it. I've played Yoda Barks a few times in my life. I'm not some fresh faced shiny over here, but let's say Yoda intercepts their bomb a range 2 from your own deployment zone. I'm probably it's going to be a lot of effort to take your bomb and take it all the way to the other side. And maybe Yoda gets killed, or maybe you steal your bomb back. There's quite a lot of circumstances where I'll just take that bomb, claim, and then immediately drop it, and then just blow it up. Because then it's no longer a score.
You don't even care if it attacks your unit.
Yeah, if I'm going to drop all 3 of mine, then now the max you get is 3-2.
Yeah. And you're like, you have to table me in order to win.
Yeah, exactly.
And the odds of that are very low with clones.
Very low. Or I grab it, put it down, and maybe I have a turn or 2 where I can actually move my units away. And as soon as you start threatening to go pick it up again, then I say, okay, never mind, I'm going to blow it up at the end of this round.
Yep.
But yeah, you just don't want to get into a circumstance where you get forked, essentially, where it's like, oh, shoot, now I need to blow this one up, but I also need to blow this one up. So don't get too greedy with your bombs. Like, generally, if you can blow them up, if there's a good opportunity to blow them up, do it, even if it hits like one of your own guys in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, don't get too greedy with your opponent's bombs if you have one.
Yeah.
But your own bombs, I would.
Yeah, you can get greedy.
Definitely.
Again, controlled greediness.
Yeah.
And then the other defensive mechanism is activation count. If you out-activate them, it's hard for them to go last, which means it's harder for them to find a spot to go drop the bomb. You know, if the center of your army, you have an unactivated Courage 2 unit, then they kind of have to stay beyond range. They have to drop the bomb beyond range 1 of that unit.
Yeah.
Which if you're coming like from the side, because I've had this happen where if someone's coming from the side, I have that unactivated unit, I leave them for last at the front. They don't have enough distance to overtake them. So essentially, they either drop it in range where I pick it up, or it doesn't hit my army at all. So that's another way you can do it without standbys.
That's fair.
But again, we're talking about defense against the boom boom part. It's if they just want to collect 3 victory points, they can very, very often, which is why unless you have ways that you feel really good about delivering your own 3 victory points, don't play bombing run unless somehow breakthrough is worse, like in the very specific scenario of advanced positions breakthrough being down 2x, where it's kind of they both suck situation.
And 9 times out of 10, if I'm a speeder list going up against another speeder list and we're playing bombing run, I'm like, this is gonna go down and kill points, so I'm going full aggressive, like especially with my bombs.
Yeah, that's because you're trading up. You're trading up with Barks. Do you ever feel like bombing run is what you really, really want to play when you're going up against another speeder list? Because chances are they might have like very few reps with bombing run. It's probably like the least played. I would put good money on it being the least played objective, just because if you don't have a list that's good for it, it's enemy number 1. You do not want to play it. So the only time it gets played is when both players are already very good at it, which is kind of rare. But yeah, it's such a boogeyman that those players might have it in their deck, but have basically never really played it all that much.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable like on bombing run. That's why I'm like, it's my favorite objective, because I'm like, I know how to play it really well. And I just have a good time playing it. So it's like, if I'm going up against another speeder list, some of the things is like, if I'm going up against a droid speeder list like Staps or an Empire speeder list, and I have my Barks, I'm feeling very confident because like my firepower isn't reliant on my Barks, whereas those other lists, they have a lot more firepower reliant on your speeders. So they're wanting to like drop the bombs and then engage, and then like my Barks, I can like, so like I think every time I've played against those lists is I've taken out all of their speeders that they have dropped. So it's like, and then my Barks, I'm like, okay, I don't care if you kill my Barks, because like I've killed all of your like speeder deliveries, and like
you're making 20 points of speeder in the exchange.
20. I'm already up like 50, 60 points. Like, so I'm feeling really good about that because Barks are so cheap, and Barks have a wider base, so they can actually deliver it easier. They have more range to deliver.
So that is very true. Especially non-sidecar. We're talking about non-sidecar Barks.
Non-sidecar. I don't know
in 2024 if anyone ever runs sidecars. There's like it's interesting in some circumstances, but like you could still play bombing run with them. You can still play bombing run. They'll still be fine.
They're not terrible.
But we're saying compared to Empire speeder bikes, they've got more speed. But again,
just less firepower, but I'm not relying on that firepower. Like, so I'm fine with that.
To loop it all back, if you want to drop it in the middle of their army, you know, a Bark unit can't displace unless it's compulsory. But as we said, you can't end your turn with a compulsory and then drop the bomb. So measure stuff out with all of that in mind of like, hey, if I want to go and displace these guys and then drop the bomb, I have to do that before my compulsory move.
Yep.
And then maybe you can compulsory away and not get hit by the bomb yourself, but it just means you have to start closer.
Yep.
Which is, a little harder to survive, but it's possible. It's possible. Or you just don't displace them and you just kind of put it on the side. That's most of what I had to talk about, other than the more existential questions about how much we like bombing run and homebrewed suggestions for how I think it could be hands down one of the best objectives in the game. Do you have anything else before we transition into the less serious part of that conversation?
No. No,
No?
I love it.
No?
It's a great
Okay.
game. If you play me at Worlds, let's play Bombing Run, please.
You just want easy wins. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So if you don't care for my wacky homebrew suggestions, not that wacky, then you can turn off now. But anyways, my problem with Bombing Run is it's just a little too skewed for me, right? It's a very interesting objective. There's a lot going on, but it's very binary as far as like, do you have the units for it? Yes, no. And then it doesn't get played. I think it would be an even better objective if you couldn't put the bombs on your vehicles. Now, we'd still want to then have other objectives that are better for vehicles, because the whole reason it exists is because there are too many objectives that are just for troopers. I get that. But Bombing Run, when you have to deliver it with troopers, is just so much more interesting because it's so much more vulnerable. The counterplay and interplay, you'd probably get a lot more just like, oh, I'm not going to deliver this bomb. I'm just going to blow it up in their face. Or I'm going to go and steal your bomb. It's just so much more interesting, I think, and would probably see a lot more play if you couldn't, because now, like, if you're taking a trooper list, you can't put Bombing Run in your list because someone's going to do Bombing Run better than you, and that, like, way better than you, and you're going to feel bad. But if only troopers can take it, then suddenly, hey, triple Mando list, triple Wookiee lists, sure. Well, maybe not triple Wookiees now that they don't have scale. That is kind of a problem, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is.
But
now, I don't think if you're a trooper list, I don't think Bombing Run is a non-winnable like list if you're playing against speeders. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, it's still possible to win.
As I say, I won a game for it, but it was tight as heck.
Yeah, it is skewed.
It's hard.
But, like, there may be a happy middle if the developers are like, okay, we actually really need to take this. We don't like it how skewed. I could see, like, all the same wording and then add a sentence, at least one of your bombs has to be on a trooper unit.
Yeah.
Then
true.
it's like, okay, like, speeders still have an advantage, but there is still that one play that, like, okay, I at least have to score this one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know what was a great objective, because all units could score and you could definitely play it. Pardon? Payload. Yes. You see where I'm getting, because bikes were really good on payload, and
they were.
Aggro trooper lists were liked payload, like for different reasons. A lot of different list archetypes could enjoy payload, and now it's just again too risky. You can listen to our thoughts on it. I still am I'm too much of a coward to put in my list, but it was a great objective. I think we need more stuff like that rather than stuff where it's like stuff where vehicles can be good, can score at it, and can contribute, rather than vehicles are like far and away the best thing for this list. Because especially if we get more objectives like that, if we ever get more objective packs again, who knows, it just gets worse. Like right now, if it's the worst thing that happens is, oh, I got Bombing Run and Breakthrough in slots 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, dang, it's a 1/3 chance. If you release 2 more Bombing Runs, then hello bidding wars again. It's awful.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to dive one step deeper into homebrew, just a random idea that came off the top of my head, I think it would be interesting if you really wanted to like kind of favor vehicles a bit more heavily, give them a unique action in the objective that isn't necessarily scoring the objective, like kind of like a running interference sort of thing, right? Where it's like, hey, Bombing Run, but you got to put on troopers, but if they're at range 1 of a vehicle, then they reduce their speed by 1 to a minimum of 1. Who knows? Just like random stuff, like just like, hey, you don't need vehicles for this, but it's a little something to help out those vehicle lists.
Yeah, I think adding that or aspects like that on not just Bombing Run but other objectives, I think would be cool, because it could like favor also like bringing in unique units. Like I would love to see stuff like stationary units, like having that stuff like that. Like, okay, on this objective, a stationary unit like gets units surrounding or something, get something. You know,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think that would be some really cool things that you could dive into, and maybe that's like a Battle Force thing, and not just like a.
That could be cool.
Yeah,
that's tough though with like objective stuff specifically.
Yeah, like adding certain things like that in a Battle Force, and not just like an objective.
That's
but
right. Or you could maybe you could go the other way where you've got something like you've got something like Bombing Run, where it's not explicit you have to take vehicles, but vehicles are greatly favored. But if a trooper has the bomb, then they can get a free speed 1 move every round. Who knows?
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Right? Just like kind of some balancing incentives, because I want less intercept the transmissions and less bombing runs. I want more things where everything.
Think something that's like
is useful,
keeps it more balanced, is like troopers that are outside the deployment zone can have the bomb. So it's not just like every turn they can just get free stuff, but it's like
the return of Pathfinders, baby. Let's go.
Pathfinders,
let's go.
Infiltrate, but like that promotes more scout. Yep. So it's like it kind of it's not like broken. I don't think that's broken, but like
I don't think it would be, honestly. Yeah.
I don't, because Pathfinders suck. So like,
Pathfinders are bad, and like if you're deploying Cassian or Iden in their deployment zone, like okay, what's the worst case? You put Cassian and K2 and Bistan, I don't know, in their deployment zone. That's usually like not a good strategy.
Not a great strategy.
Right? Because then, especially if they have speeders anyways, then they just say, oh, okay, sorry, I'm just going to take a detour. Before I drop all my bombs, I'm just going to kill those 3 units, be up on kill points, then go drop my own 3 bombs, and sweet. But like if you're full scout unit, scout troopers, that is, like they scout 3 and then they've got a bomb and now they're running for their lives trying to drop the bomb off. That would be cool. We've solved it, Seth. We should be in charge. This is great.
Yeah, because like it doesn't touch rapid because you can't put them in there because they're not even deployed. Infiltrate units with infiltrate aren't even that strong.
Or you could say units without infiltrate. You could. Like it's a bunch of wording, but if it's like troopers, or you just say it cannot be, but like basically vehicles and troopers with the infiltrate keyword can only be assigned a bomb, an objective token if they are within your deployment zone or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if I ever explicitly, I was about to say it and then kind of said we'll talk about it later, but this ties into rollout as well. Like don't roll out all your bikes outside of your deployment zone.
Also try not to do rollout with bikes, period.
Also very true. Because actually, if you're running triple ATST, don't put your 3 ATSTs out on rollout and then have no bomb carriers.
That's actually, if you are a gun line and bombing run and like they have like rollout or like long march on their list, like go to rollout or long march, because as a gun line, like
you can hedge them out a lot more.
Yeah, you can catch them out. But if you're a Y speeder player, don't even put those.
Yeah, just don't put them in your list. And even if you're the gunline player, if they somehow, like, if they break through your defenses and score even just 1 bomb, then you're sitting there like, oh shoot, now I have to also score a bomb with a trooper list on bombing run on long march. Oops.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it also kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Give and take.
I hope by the end of 2024 we get another objective pack.
I hope so.
I hope so, but I'm also, it would make me so nervous just because, you know, the more objectives you add in, the more powerful that objective deck can be, the more skewed it can be, and the more rock, paper, scissors and like bid wars we can drift into, right? And that's what I don't love. I
think it's too skewed. Like, I don't think there's enough power in the bid right now. Yeah. I think because so many of the objectives are very samey. Very samey. Very samey. So, yeah.
But samey is in the sense of like it's a narrow selection, I should say. There's I think the payload. The payload thing really did a number on that, but also the tiebreak rules, because it very much changed who wants stuff like VAPs. Even though I'll still take VAPs with a small bit. Like, I'll still do it. I'm not a coward in that sense.
Me
I'm just a
either.
coward with payload. But yeah. I think it's dangerous and would need to be done with finesse. But I think a new objective pack could really breathe new life into this game. And yeah, it could breathe life into new units because suddenly you drop some 2 objectives where suddenly having infiltrating Pathfinders, awesome. You pair that with the Scarif Battle Force that gives them a real heavy. Now we're talking. Let's go. Please.
Shut up and take my money.
Where is Scarif Battle Force? I would give so much for just like a real Pathfinder heavy. I want them to work so bad. Maybe that should be our first post Worlds episode. Not like first, like obviously we'll recap Worlds, but then, because it's leading up to points change and it's kind of like wacky experimental time. Just like, okay, I want to make X bad unit work.
Yeah.
How do we approach that? A follow up to our list building episode from last week.
I like that idea. Let's do it.
There we go. Hopefully we don't forget in 2 months. We'll see.
I'm writing a note.
Good. One of us is organized. Alrighty. That's all I've got. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
And or watching. Yeah.
Yes. We hope you have a great day. Stay gunkin'.
This has been the Bombad Generals.
Listening to Bombad Generals is not scientifically proven to make you a better Legion player. Side effects may include bad dice rolls, missed triggers, aim losses, bankruptcy, divorce, vomiting, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if Bombad Generals is right for you.